Roughly 40% of our actions don't require conscious decisions. We do them on autopilot. But some decisions are worth making consciously, for example, how we allocate our attention. Usually we manage our attention on autopilot. When we get an email from the boss, we instinctively drop everything and write a reply. When we get a notification about new comments, we go read them. Attention is a very limited resource. The better we are at directing it deliberately, the more focused, productive, and creative we become. That's why so many people can't read books. They can't train themselves not to get distracted. Their thoughts are constantly wandering somewhere. They want to grab their phone instead, or we might cycle through 5 apps on repeat, refreshing them again and again until we snap out of the trance. There are 4 types of tasks. To figure out which type a task belongs to, ask yourself, is this task productive or not? That is, how much will you accomplish by doing it? And is it attractive? That is it interesting to do? Necessary work includes things like work meetings, phone calls about the quarterly budget, or filling out reports, all the work we have to force ourselves to do. Unnecessary work is insignificant work, such as shuffling papers on your desk or sorting folders on your computer. Spending your time on this kind of work means you're being lazy because you're trying to put off the necessary work. Distracting work is everything that pulls us away. Activity on social media, messengers, and news sites, or chatting with colleagues. The worse a person is at allocating attention, the more time they spend in this category. Purposeful work is the tasks that give the biggest return, the ones we immerse ourselves in most deeply. For example, an actor's purposeful work is rehearsing and performing a role. A financial advisor's is investing, meeting with clients, and studying the news. Ideally, a highly productive person needs to focus on only 2 sectors of the table. But most people drift over time. Some only start to concentrate when a deadline is approaching. This book will help you spend less time on autopilot and give all your attention to just those 2 categories. To start, sort all your tasks into these 4 categories. That way you'll immediately see which tasks are the most productive. The number of things we can focus on is limited. In most cases, we can combine a maximum of 2 activities, for example, filling out forms and talking to someone. Parsing a conversation requires more than half your attention. Part of it goes toward interpreting the person's words, part toward guessing what lies behind them. The remaining share of attention we can spend on something minor. In short-term memory, we can hold a small amount of information. The author calls the space in short-term memory the attentional space, the place we use to temporarily store information while it's being processed. When we pay attention to something, that information fills short-term memory. For example, if we watch a video while cooking dinner, we cram both tasks into the attentional space. When we're focused on an important conversation, it fully occupies the attentional space. And when we recall a friend's birthday or the title of a song by reaching into long-term memory, that information loads into the attentional space for as long as we need it. If your brain were a computer, the attentional space would be RAM. At the same time, you can't do complex things simultaneously. For example, if you try to read a book and watch a series at once, you'll miss half the information from both. Right now, check what your attentional space is occupied with. Maybe you're 100% immersed in this video. That means you'll absorb the information better and faster. Or maybe a third of your attention is taken up by your phone. This practice is called meta-awareness, being aware of what we're thinking about. The faster you notice you're getting distracted, the faster you can return to the task at hand. That's what mindfulness is. Noticing what fills your mind, what you're thinking, feeling, and perceiving at any given moment. And you shouldn't judge the thoughts that come into your head, because you'll only sink deeper into them. Instead, you need to redirect your attention to the current action. Simply by noticing what occupies our attentional space, we already become more productive. But you can combine a complex task with habits you do without thinking. For example, listen to an audiobook while cleaning the house, grocery shopping, or ironing. This way you can get through a couple of extra books a month. You can also do tasks that engage different senses. For example, sort and put away laundry while talking on the phone. Sorting laundry involves motor and visual sensations. Talking on the phone involves auditory ones. Since we use different parts of the brain to process them, the tasks don't compete for the same mental resources. Purposeful work can't be done out of habit, which is exactly why such tasks are the most productive. Doing them, you always accomplish more, because they demand focus and mental resources and draw on unique skills. So, there are three combinations of tasks that fit well into the attentional space. First, several small habitual tasks: running, tracking your breathing rhythm, and listening to music. We can do all this at once. Second, a complex task and a habitual task. For example, listening to an audiobook and playing a simple, monotonous game. Third, one complex task, for example, having a conversation with your boss or acting as a presenter. Thanks to the unused part of the space, we can consider what's best to say or how best to approach the task. You may get ideas that wouldn't have occurred to you if your attentional space were filled to the brim. You've probably experienced attention overload, walking into the kitchen and suddenly realizing you've forgotten why you came in. This happened because you tried to hold too much in your head at once. For example, a news item you heard on TV, a problem you need to solve, and an article you just read. As a result, you didn't have enough attentional space to carry out your original intention. Or you might decide in the morning to stop by the store after work. But during the day, problems so tangle up your mind that you don't remember the store. That's why you need to work with intention and purpose as often as possible. Intention helps you set priorities so that you don't overload your attentional space and you won't feel discomfort from having too many tasks. So at any given moment, the attentional space should hold no more than two key thoughts: what you plan to achieve and what you're doing right now. If you realize you're doing something important on autopilot, it's likely that too many things have ended up in your attentional space. You need to consciously organize your attention, otherwise it will become overloaded. For example, you might rewind a film or audiobook because someone distracted you by talking to you, or because you drifted off thinking about something else. If your head is full of thoughts, write them down in a notebook so you can return to them later. That way you'll no longer keep them in your head. The best way to avoid overload is to watch what you let into your attentional space. Turn off the radio on the way home. This lets your brain process everything that happened during the day and not forget your intention to buy bread. At home, turn off the TV in the background when you're cooking or doing work that requires concentration. It's precisely these small adjustments that let you keep your attention on your intention, and you'll start thinking more clearly. Productivity is achieving what you planned. If today our plan is to write 3,000 words and make a presentation, and we successfully handle these tasks, we get a sense of productivity. If we don't want to do anything today and don't, then in that case too, we turn out to be quite productive. But being busy doesn't mean being productive. Busyness has to lead to achieving something important. For example, while working at the computer, you might constantly get distracted by notifications on your phone, so your attentional space keeps switching, which lowers your productivity. This happens because when you switch to something, remnants of attention from the previous activity linger in the attentional space, and it takes some time for them to fade. Until then, we keep thinking about the previous task. As a result, with constant task switching, work takes 50% longer, so you're both working and not working at the same time. That's why you should remove all distractions. You've surely had days when you felt super productive and could get a huge amount done, and even when you were distracted and your attention scattered, you quickly returned to the task at hand. These were most likely moments when you were being pushed by deadlines. In that case, a single task took up all your attention. You entered what's called a flow state, where you didn't notice time passing, and in each hour you managed to do as much as you'd normally do in several. And once the task was finished, you didn't feel the strong fatigue you'd feel on less busy days. This productive state is called hyperfocus, when the attentional space is filled to the brim by the task at hand. The more tasks you have, the more important it is to choose exactly what you'll pay attention to and how many objects of attention there will be. In that case, your attentional space won't overflow, the work won't feel chaotic, and it'll be easier to do. To enter a state of hyperfocus, there are 4 stages. Stage 1, choose a productive object of attention. Before this, you must have your intention to do this task here and now. It could be a conversation with someone or a brainstorm for launching a new product. Stage 2, eliminate as many external and internal distractions as possible. This could be a TV running in the background, a phone or people, as well as your own off-topic thoughts. Stage 3, focus on the chosen object of attention. You need to decide in advance how long you'll need to concentrate. Stage 4, continually return to that object and refocus on it. Over the course of an hour, we might drift off thinking about something else around 5 times, so you need to be aware that your thoughts are wandering and bring them back to the chosen task. To determine which tasks to concentrate on first, follow the rule of 3. It states that at the start of the day, you should set yourself 3 main tasks you want to finish by evening. You can also set 3 main tasks for the week, as well as choose 3 daily non-work items. Second, decide which items on your to-do list have the greatest consequences. To do this, answer the question, what will change in your work and life if you spend time completing a particular item? For example, you need to create an employee handbook. This will cut the onboarding time for new hires and increase their productivity. To form a strong intention, you need to plan exactly how you want to achieve what you want. These plans should describe when, where, and what exactly needs to be done to move toward the result. For example, if a student has a vague goal of finding an apartment over the winter break, they should make it concrete. On the 21st, I'll open the listings and message 3 landlords before the break. Concretely formulated intentions were carried out far more often, 62% of students versus 22%. A person can even set an intention around their feelings, for example, when I get irritated or when I get nervous. And over time, this turns into a habit. To enter a state of hyperfocus, first decide how long you're willing to stay in it. For example, you decide the task is too tedious and you'll only last half an hour. Over time, the length of your hyperfocus periods will grow, and this will bring you a sense of great satisfaction. The author started with 15-minute hyperfocus sessions, taking 5 to 10-minute breaks between them. He soon got used to it and worked much longer. If you have a lot of tasks, set aside a block of time in advance when no one will disturb you. Remember, 1 hour of work in hyperfocus can produce the results of several hours of a normal day spent getting distracted by everything. Put your phone in airplane mode. Wear noise-canceling headphones so ambient sounds don't distract you. Also use apps that block access to websites. Set yourself concrete deadlines, for example, I need to get this part done in an hour. Focus. If you notice your thoughts wandering, that you've gotten distracted, concentrate on the assigned task again. After you come out of hyperfocus, reward yourself with something. It's useful to give yourself a break before concentrating on the next task. Some offices install a lamp. While it's lit, no one is allowed to distract others. Everyone must focus on their own task. When it goes off, people can approach one another. Soon, entering a state of concentration will relax you because you won't need to concentrate on several things at once and experience chaos in your head. You'll know that since your time, attention, and energy are directed at only one task, you can slow down and work more deliberately. In this case, you also conserve energy. When you get rid of distractions, your energy grows and you can work longer without breaks. Check your phone notifications, email, and social media a limited number of times per day. For example, in the morning, at midday, and in the evening. Otherwise, you'll refresh the page over and over to see whether someone reposted your entry or messaged you. If you get sent too many emails, set a timer for 20 minutes and, entering hyperfocus, process as many emails as you can in that time using the 5-sentence rule. And stop treating your phone as a way to fill some pause. For example, don't pick it up while standing in line at the store, drinking coffee, or sitting in the bathroom. Use these small breaks to reflect on the current task or think about alternative approaches to work and life. When you're sitting in a cafe with someone, agree upfront that no one will be on their phone, and both put your phones in airplane mode so there's no urge to pick them up. You can even buy a second phone, one for work, another for entertainment. Create a folder on your phone called Pointless and put everything that often distracts you into it. That way you'll constantly remind yourself that you're about to waste time or just delete the unnecessary apps altogether. Change your environment. Many offices are decorated in a minimalist style, usually containing a desk, a computer, a couple of pictures on the wall, a family photo on the desk, and a small plant in the corner. All of this is designed so nothing distracts a person from work. Some people find simple, familiar music playing in the background relaxing, but it should be without lyrics. Or you can turn on music and put on headphones. That's better than listening to the noise of a cafe or the conversations of other employees in the office. You already know you should keep a notebook to write down all your thoughts. You need to unload your mind as much as possible. All meetings and events, tasks, ideas, even which packages you're expecting that week, write it all down so you don't hold anything in memory. You can increase the size of your attentional space. The size of the attentional space is determined by what's called working memory capacity. This term refers to the number of units of information we can hold in mind at once. The larger your working memory capacity, the more information you keep in your head, and the higher your ability to handle complex tasks. According to numerous studies, all the sites associated with so-called brain training produce results only in the short term. Meanwhile, there is one tool whose effectiveness for boosting working memory has been confirmed experimentally: meditation. Like hyperfocus, it involves continually returning your attention to a single object, usually the breath. Your thoughts will constantly wander, and that's the whole point. Each time you bring your thoughts back to the breath, you train control over your own attention. This is what helps improve its quality metrics. The author has been doing this for 10 years and gets distracted by stray thoughts far less often, and he uses this concentration in his hyperfocus state. Thanks to 45-minute meditation twice a week, researchers found that participants' working memory capacity increased by more than 30% on average. And there's a simple rule you should stick to: it doesn't matter how long you meditate as long as you do it every day. Mindfulness is another proven way to expand the attentional space. That is, you need to learn to be aware of what you're thinking and feeling right now. For example, many people don't even notice themselves taking a shower. As the water runs over their body, they're thinking about what they need to buy today, who to meet with, and so on. You, on the other hand, need to learn to always be in the present moment. As you take a shower, concentrate on the sound of the water and your sensations. All of this trains your brain to concentrate better on the things right in front of you. Practice as often as possible throughout the day. For example, during your morning coffee, notice the smell and taste of the drink, the weight of the cup in your hand, and so on. Thanks to mindfulness, you'll not only be able to concentrate on tasks, but also improve your negotiation skills. You'll always give full attention to the person you're talking with, because during the conversation you won't be thinking about anything else.